This Dolphins team has a lot of holes it needs to fill. Obviously, from last season, a lot of things need to change this offseason, and likelihood is we're not going to see a lot of them get fixed. The Miami Dolphins are not necessarily blessed with money to be able to spend with cap space, so we're going to have to make do in certain situations. The defense is probably going to get minimal improvements, but one position the Miami Dolphins will be able to afford to fix and have to fix is the backup quarterback position, a position that we're going to be covering a lot probably throughout the offseason, as it's definitely a position of need. Miami Dolphins haven't got this position right in the last few years, and it's cost the Miami Dolphins multiple games in this last season, cost the Miami Dolphins potentially a place in the playoff. I haven't quite put together my list for the top guys that I would like to see the Miami Dolphins bring in as a backup quarterback. However, one of the guys that is high on that list, I assume, would be Marcus Mariota. Links right now, Adam Schefter is saying the Miami Dolphins are one of the teams that will be interested in bringing Marcus Mariota in as a backup quarterback, and this is a move that I would love to see the Miami Dolphins make. There have been so many whiffs by the Miami Dolphins at this position, whether you're looking at Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson, that somehow has been here for 3 seasons, Mike White this season, you're looking at Tim Boyle, you're looking at Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley is probably the best of the bunch, and that's not really saying much, because somebody had to be. None of these guys were quite able to capture what Mike McDaniel wanted them to do. There was certainly a significant drop-off whenever Tua inevitably goes down with his multiple concussions and multiple other injuries as we've seen him sustain as a Miami Dolphins quarterback. So these guys have gone in there, and it just hasn't looked good enough. Obviously, as a backup quarterback, there's a reason why you're a backup quarterback. You're not just going to be sitting on the bench if you could play at a high level on a regular basis, right? But there definitely needs to be a top standard that is met for this team, especially with how demanding this offense is from their quarterback. And now, one thing that we've started to see from the backup quarterback position, from what Mike McDaniel wants, is somebody that's a little bit more of a dual threat option than what he has at his starting quarterback in Tua, which normally you don't see that a lot. Normally you see a guy that can just be not necessarily as good as a starter, but do the same things well. Be able to just slip right into the offense and be able to run it not necessarily at the same level, but understand have at the same depth as to what the offense is asking for them as a quarterback. And now we're seeing Tyler Huntley. We've seen Skylar Thompson for multiple years as Miami Dolphins' second or third string quarterback. And Marcus Mariota is somebody who does provide that extra level of athleticism that we've seen from Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson. Now that he's 31 years old, probably not as much as athletic player at the quarterback position as he was when he was younger. However, he still has the ability to do things on his own, as well as developing into one of the better backup quarterbacks in this league, just throwing the ball. We got to see about 6 quarters of play this year from Marcus Mariota when either Jaden Daniels went down against the Carolina Panthers or playing the entire second half of the game against the Dallas Cowboys, a game that the Washington Commanders did not need to win to get into the playoffs. However, it did determine where they ended up playing, who they ended up playing in the first round, as winning that game led them to ultimately playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round. So in that sample size, what we saw from Marcus Mariota is what I was just mentioning, somebody who is a little bit athleticism, can still use his legs a little bit. However, the ability to stay in the pocket, his numbers at the quarterback position, just throwing the ball, you're looking at a 77% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 365 yards thrown in those 6 quarters is very impressive work from a backup quarterback. You look at that game against the Carolina Panthers, most of that passing work was done in the first half. They really just ran the clock out as it was like a 4-score lead going into halftime from the Commanders. He stepped into that position, not getting any work done with the ones the previous week, had to step in there cold and deliver, was excellent in that game, looking at 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, great completion percentage, great efficiency, looking at great numbers all across the board from a backup quarterback coming in, like I said, completely cold, completely not expecting to play. And then the game against the Dallas Cowboys, it was a little bit different. I'm sure they scripted it in a way that he was expecting to play that entire second half. I don't think it's a decision they made just on the whim, on the spot. 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. That game, an 83% completion percentage against your division rivals, a backup quarterback. You cannot ask for any more from a backup quarterback in those 2 games than what the Commanders got from Marcus Mariota. Everything from a football point of view makes a lot of sense for Marcus Mariota to be the next backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. You have those great numbers inside the pocket. You get the athleticism that Mike McDaniel clearly wants from his backup quarterback, something that is different than what you get into it. Everything just from a quarterback standpoint makes sense. It it is now just a matter of whether the Miami Dolphins are going to be willing to open up the checkbook, as Marcus Mariota last year was one of the higher paid backup quarterbacks in the league, making around $6 million for the Washington Commanders. That is not a figure you see thrown around a lot with backup quarterbacks. However, he is such a high-end premium backup quarterback, and with the clear issues of Tua not being able to stay on the field, even though the Miami Dolphins do not have a lot of money to throw around this year in free agency, it is a position they have to take seriously that they have not taken seriously in the past. They've relied on those guys that have just been a revolving door, like the Tim Boyles, like the Skylar Thompsons, that just do not get it done. Marcus Mariota, you have seen this year two different examples, one in which he was game planned to play, where he played excellent 83% completion percentage, and another which he did not expect to play and beat the Carolina Panthers in the first half, and they just ran the ball out. There is not money to spend. There's going to be moves that the Miami Dolphins have to make to free up some space. You're looking at some, Teron Armstead, a lot of money that he's going to be owed. Could he be moved on? Other players that are older on this team or just not getting it done, you see them moved on. Tyreek Hill, another name that could be moved on. So there is going to have to be money cleared up no matter what. So are you going to really want to devote that much money when you already do not have that money towards a guy that best case scenario does not play at all? It is a conundrum. It is a difficult decision to make. Best case scenario, your backup quarterback never sees the field. That's just not the case, though, for the Miami Dolphins, and that's not something you can bank on if you're the Miami Dolphins. Tua has not had that great history of staying healthy. You need to have somebody who can reliably come into the games. I don't think it's great to try to bank on a younger guy or inexperienced guy or someone that just flat out isn't good, like we saw this year from the backup position from the Miami Dolphins. You need to go out there and get somebody who can get a job done, who can win games, because ultimately that might be the decision maker as to whether you make the playoffs or you end up missing. $6 million is a lot of money to spend, but it might just be worth it for a guy that, if needed to, might be the difference from making the playoffs or not. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Miami Dolphins would be smart to go out and get a quarterback like Marcus Mariota? Do you like what you've seen from him this year, those two appearances with the Commanders? Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you want somebody else? What do you think of the backup quarterback position? I'm sure going to be more videos that we will be making covering this topic, as it is a very serious subject for the Miami Dolphins. It's something they have to address this offseason. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.